You can join us live for our next BookFunnel webinar. Check out the link in the description for more details. We hope to see you there.
So, direct sales fulfillment. Here's what we're going to cover. Let's go over that first. So we're going to talk a little bit about why you should look into selling direct, why it might be a good fit for you. For those of you who maybe aren't convinced yet, maybe you're on the fence, and that's why you're here at this webinar, and you're wondering, why should I do direct sales? Well, that's what we're going to talk about first. We'll also talk about how it works, just the nuts and bolts of it, how it works when you deliver direct sales through BookFunnel, what that's like, what the setup process is like. We'll talk about the supported formats that you can deliver through BookFunnel direct sales delivery, which platform might be the best fit for you. There are multiple sales platforms that we connect to and integrate with. And then, like I said, the setup process is something we'll touch on briefly. It really is pretty straightforward. But we'll also talk about some best practices and then some other cool things you can do with BookFunnel for direct sales in other ways as well. We are also talking about where direct sales is headed here in 2024, which is we're almost, maybe not quite, but almost halfway through 2024. We're over a quarter of the way through 2024, and that's more accurate. But still, to kind of give you guys an idea of what's current, what current trends are in the direct sales space for authors, so you have some idea of what to expect in terms of changes and things that are coming down the pike. So. Why you should sell direct. Let's start there, though. Right? Maybe you need to be convinced. Maybe you're not sure yet. Is this the right thing for me? Well, let's talk about that. For one, selling direct gives you control. You own the platform that you're selling on. This gives you full control over the customer experience, every aspect of it. If you sell your book on Amazon, for example, you're on Amazon's website. You don't have control over how things are presented to the customer. You don't have control over what other products are offered to that customer. There's a lot of things that you don't have control over. There is a trade-off there, of course. If you're selling on a big platform like Amazon, you could get discovered on there and things like that. It happens, right? So I've heard. But when you're selling direct, you have control over that customer's experience from beginning to end. And this shouldn't be undersold. This is really a powerful and important tool and a great reason to sell direct. Second of all, it comes down to money, folks, right? You get more money from every sale when you eliminate the middleman. Selling on other platforms, Amazon, what have you, they're going to take a cut. They're going to take a bigger cut than your sales platform is going to take, right? So Amazon, of course, is going to take, 30 to 70%, somewhere in there, right? Of whatever it is you're selling, right? They're going to take a pretty big chunk, depending on your pricing strategy and a lot of other factors. But still, they're going to take a big chunk out of each sale. Right? When you sell direct, you really just have to pay your fees to your sales processor, whatever those might be, and that's pretty much it. Right? If you have a website, of course, you can maybe factor that in and advertising costs and so forth, but it's a lot easier to justify some of those relatively smaller costs when you aren't having a big chunk taken out of each sale that you make, right? Data is another reason why you would want to sell direct. When you sell a book on Amazon, Amazon is just going to come up a lot. Apologies for those of you who don't sell on Amazon, maybe you sell on other platforms, maybe you're wide, maybe your books are everywhere. That's just, the example I'm going to frequently use today. So, substitute that for whatever other massive online ebook retailer, right? Or audiobook retailer that you might be thinking of, right? Unlike selling on another platform, you can get to know who your buyers are, right? When somebody buys your book on Amazon, you don't know who they are, right? All you get is their money, and you don't get an email. You don't get to know like who this person is. But when you sell direct, you can capture this information. You can easily also, get access to that information so you can follow up with them later on. They become your readers. Now, one thing that authors will do, of course, is have something like a reader magnet. If you're selling on another platform like Amazon, That's always good advice. Right? So you will get some of those readers, but when you sell direct, you get all of them, right? Essentially, every sale is, you could think of it as almost like somebody joining your mailing list. You have an ongoing relationship with this person, an ongoing connection with this person after the sale, right? Is something that you can have that you don't get when you're selling on other platforms. On other platforms, there's extra steps to get to that point. And some readers are just never going to get to that point at all. So it's important to note that, right? You have control over that data. You have access to those customers. The next time you're running a sale in your store, you can let them know. Or like I said, you can include them in some of the other updates that you might be sending out to your newsletter. There's ways to manage that, but it's important to note that you have access to that data. And it's relatively low risk. It really, it really is low risk. You can start small with direct sales. You do not have to do a full-fledged, huge storefront. You can start something small and then scale up later on. And you just start by offering a few books, and you can always go back if it doesn't work out, right? The nice thing about direct sales is that you do have complete control. So if you're going down this route and you decide, you know what, I'm going to go back to KDP Select and re-enroll my books. Kindle Unlimited was just working better for me. Maybe direct sales will work, in the future, right? When I have more books or something like that, or when I have a bigger audience, for sure. Those are things to take into account, but there's really not much risk to it. Right? And if you have a relatively decent sized backlist or a decent sized library of books that you are offering, right? Maybe you decide that some of them are going to be over here and on Amazon on KDP Select, and some of them are going to be here in my direct store. And I'm going to just slowly get some of my customers used to buying direct from me and just build that up over time. Right? You can think of it like a marathon instead of a sprint. You don't have to just get it all done all at once. And for that reason, there's not much risk involved. You can start slow and just build on top of that as you go along, right? So how does it work though, right? This direct sales stuff with BookFunnel, what does it look like, right? You might be wondering. So it's really simple, three-step process here. A sale is going to occur in your online store. This is an online store that you've built, right? This is not on BookFunnel. This is your own online store. BookFunnel is going to be notified of that transaction. This is facilitated by a connection between your store and BookFunnel. Right? So, in some cases, in most cases, your store is going to be directly integrated with BookFunnel. So, BookFunnel will get this notification, a transaction has occurred, and then BookFunnel will deliver your customers books. It's that easy. 1, 2, 3, right? But there's definitely some other steps along the way in there and some things that come after this too. And so a couple things that should be noted. Once your readers have their books, if they have trouble getting them, BookFunnel reader support is there to help them out. There's definitely going to be some customer service stuff that's going to have to happen after the fact too, related to possible returns and refunds and other types of things that inevitably happen when you're running an online store. So those are other things that are going to happen. But the essentials are this, right? That sale is going to occur in your store. BookFunnel will be notified of it, and that notification is immediate, right? So it's essentially instantaneous, and BookFunnel sends a delivery email, and it's going to show up in your reader's inbox. There's also ways to have it delivered even faster, where they don't even have to wait to get that email from BookFunnel. They don't have to wait the 30 seconds that it takes to get that email in their inbox. BookFunnel provides you with a specialized link that you can provide to them immediately after their purchase. That will provide them all the links they need to download and access their books. Right? So a few things to note here, right? Before we dive any further. Excuse me, folks. BookFunnel does not take a cut of your sales. We just deliver your sales, right? So we are not taking any percentage out of anything. Obviously, you do have your annual or monthly fee that you pay for BookFunnel, but that's it, right? We don't take a percentage or a cut of anything, right? BookFunnel does not deliver physical products. such as paperbacks, hardcovers, swag, anything of that sort, any of those types of things, BookFunnel is not going to be delivering those, right? Those things you will have to deliver through another delivery method. Of course, you can sell these on a storefront that you have control over, that you own. You can definitely do that, right? You can still do that. No reason why you can't. But just the fact being that BookFunnel doesn't deliver those things. And a BookFunnel provides a single link, like I mentioned, that you can send to all of your customers after their purchase for easy digital delivery. This means that you're providing them one link. We call it a checkout delivery link or a checkout delivery page, and everybody's going to the same place. That means it's really easy to redirect everybody to the same place, regardless of what they purchased, and in order to get their books, right? So it really is pretty easy at that point. Now let's talk about supported formats. What can you deliver this way? Obviously, we mentioned, you can't do physical books, right? So ebooks in the form of EPUB, Kindle EPUB, and PDF, those can all be delivered. Audiobooks via the BookFunnel app and Cloud Reader. You do have the option to enable DRM free MP3 downloads as well. BookFunnel audiobooks, currently those are in beta. It's an open beta, so as long as you're on the mid-list author plan or higher, you just need to contact BookFunnel support in order to sign up for the audiobooks beta. If you haven't done so yet, the beta has actually been running for a few years. I recommend you get in there now. I'm just going to leave it at that. I recommend you get in there now because that beta will soon end, and when it does, the audiobooks will be a paid add-on to your BookFunnel account. So if you're wanting to experiment with audiobooks and check it out, I recommend contact support and join the beta. But we can deliver audiobooks much in the same way that we deliver ebooks. It's all intercompatible, right? Like I said earlier, we don't deliver print books. Book Vault and Lulu are two options for direct sales of print books that are pretty reliable. And I even know of some folks who will order their books in bulk and ship them out themselves. You can do that if you really want to. I appreciate that kind of thing. But I understand that's not everybody's cup of tea, right? Not everybody wants to have a shipping center in their garage or something like that. I totally understand, right? So which platforms should you choose? Here we're talking about sales platforms, right? The ones that you can connect to BookFunnel with. So PayPal is one of the first ones that comes to mind. A lot of people think PayPal when they think direct sales, and that totally makes sense. You can sell from an existing website with PayPal buttons. They're really easy to add to a website. There's some recent changes that have gone on with PayPal that have made things a little different than they've been in the past. So if you've used PayPal before and you are revisiting it, some things might have changed. But if you're new to PayPal, it'll be just fine. The transaction fees are really low, and that's one of the main reasons why you might want to use PayPal. Their fees are some of the lowest because they're not really giving you a lot of tools. They're just giving you a way to process those transactions pretty simply, right? And that's the idea. Now, Shopify, on the other hand, is more of a store builder. It allows you to actually build a complete store. You can host a store and really a website on Shopify's platform. You can create custom buy buttons that function much like PayPal buttons, and those can be integrated into an existing website. And you also have integrations with Wix and Squarespace and other website hosts. So if you're running a website on Wix, let's say, right? BookFunnel does not integrate with Wix, for example, and you want to have, maybe you want to have your store on your Wix website, you can connect it to Shopify, and BookFunnel does connect to Shopify. So you're able to do direct sales that way. Shopify, of course, does come with a monthly fee or annual fee, depending on which plan you choose. And that's in addition to any transaction fees that are involved. So a little different there in that respect. Gumroad is another platform that we connect to, one of our more recent additions. It's been around for about maybe a little over a year. We added it I think in 2023, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember exactly when, but it's been around for a little while. It's very easy to set up. That is one of the perks of Gumroad. There's no monthly fee on their base level plan. Of course, I think they do have some plans you can upgrade to, but their standard base plan has no monthly fee. And there's also VAT tax reporting on Gumroad, which is great for those of you who might have to report VAT taxes specifically. Maybe you're in the EU or something like that. Uh, Thrivecart is probably the most powerful direct sales platform that BookFunnel connects to. Thrivecart is like Shopify on steroids, for lack of a better term, right? It has lots of upselling tools, advanced options that you can use. It is a very advanced and powerful tool for direct sales of any kind, right? It is a one-time purchase, which makes it stand out from some of the other platforms. There is no free option with Thrivecart. That one-time purchase is a little hefty, but you pay it once, and then the transaction fees are relatively low at that point. There are sales tax collection and reporting tools on their Pro plan, which can make it really easy to report your taxes. Other platforms they might help you track the taxes that you've collected, but they may not remit them. And so that's something that you'll want to keep an eye on if that's important for you. Tax remittance is going to vary from one platform to the other, but typically you should expect that if the platform is not going to remit taxes on your behalf, you will instead be remitting those taxes to your local authorities, your local municipality, or what have you directly, right? But Thrivecart does give you lots of excellent reporting tools and so forth to make that easier, is the idea. PayHip is actually very comparable to Gumroad because you'll notice the bullet points there are the same for these two, and that's not by accident. PayHip is also very easy to set up with BookFunnel. There is no monthly fee for their base level plan, and it also has VAT tax reporting. Not a whole lot more to say there in terms of ease of use, right? It's very simple, very comparable to Gumroad. I will say there is a difference between PayHip and Gumroad in terms of their style. And you may find I personally prefer PayHip over Gumroad, but you might find the opposite. So if you're looking for something easy and you can't choose, I recommend just checking both of them out, since you can create an account with either one of them and kind of tinker with some of their tools. You can get an idea for which one, if you're choosing between those two, which one is better for you. And then lastly, WooCommerce. So WooCommerce is really easy to set up if you already have a WordPress website. This would be the main reason why you would want to use WooCommerce. You have to have WordPress in order to use WooCommerce, and there's no monthly fee for it. So that does make it a bit of a bonus. The WooCommerce does maybe have a little bit of a learning curve to it. But if you're already very familiar with WordPress, maybe you've had a WordPress website that you've been working with for a long time and you're familiar with it, then I think WooCommerce should be no problem for you either, right? It should be along the same lines. Now, the setup process, regardless of which platform you choose, the setup process is going to look like this. And again, we're going to break this down into 3 stages because it really is pretty simple as 1, 2, 3, right? So number one, you need to connect your sales platform to BookFunnel following the setup guide in the author knowledge base. Each one of these platforms has a guide in the author knowledge base. That's authors.bookfunnel.com. You just go there and you search up direct sales or search up the platform you want to connect to. You'll find an article that usually be titled like how to set up direct sales with PayHip, right? Or something to that effect. And that will be the step-by-step article that will walk you through the whole process. There are some steps along that way in the connection process that you have to make sure you don't miss. So go through that thoroughly, read those instructions, and go through step-by-step in a very thorough manner. The second step is to create your products on BookFunnel. On BookFunnel, we call these delivery actions. You will have a delivery action for each product you are going to deliver, and those need to correspond to the products you have in your store. So Let's say, for example, you have a trilogy of books that you are selling, and you are selling book one and book two and book three as individual products, but you're also selling a bundle, which is a fourth product that includes all three books. In BookFunnel, you would also have four products in the form of four separate delivery actions. One delivery action for each of the individual books, and then one delivery action for the bundle of the three, for the trilogy that is set to deliver all three books, right? Then the last step is to perform a test purchase of your items. So once you've connected your store to BookFunnel, you've created the products on BookFunnel and your store, right? Then you can perform a test purchase, and that is how you verify that the setup process is complete and that you've actually gotten it successfully completed. Now, if your test purchase isn't successful, you need to go back to step number one, right? You need to go back to step number one, go through the setup article in the author knowledge base that corresponds to your platform. There's probably something that was missed along the way. 9 times out of 10, that's what it is. A webhook wasn't put in the right place. The SKU was incorrect or missing, something like that. That's what you need to do there, is to go back to that process and make sure that you've gone through that article again. There are sometimes some goofy things that can happen with connections like this, and our author support team is pretty knowledgeable on what those typical things are. Every now and then something really zany happens too, and it's bound to happen to somebody eventually. So it's possible that the setup process is being blocked by something else. Sometimes, for example, with WooCommerce, this can happen if you have multiple WordPress websites. WooCommerce is very finicky about which website is kind of your master domain, if you will. There are some other things that can happen there that can go on, and when they do happen, we're here to help you out. So we can usually get those things resolved between our author support team and our engineering team. So if you run into trouble here at this step, don't worry. Go back, start from the beginning, right? And go through that article, test again. And if you're still having trouble, reach out to support and we can help you out. So some best practices. You've got a store set up, you're selling books. What should you be thinking of, right? Well, first of all, you want to communicate clearly what type of book your customers are purchasing. This might sound kind of simple, but is it an ebook? Is it print? Is it audio? They should be able to clearly tell what it is they're getting. We encounter this sometimes in our reader support for our authors' readers, where they maybe it wasn't clear what exactly they were getting or what they were buying, and they were expecting one thing and got something else. So in order to avoid that and the headaches that come with it, make sure you communicate very clearly what it is that they're buying from your direct store, right? Also, let them know that they're going to be getting an email from BookFunnel. Let them know that we're part of a part of the delivery process, because to them, they're at your store, right? They're buying from you. They don't necessarily know that BookFunnel is part of this process, or they might be new to this whole thing. They're not familiar with us, with BookFunnel. So name dropping us, probably a good idea, because they're going to get an email from us, and it's best for them to be introduced to BookFunnel from you. Also, make sure that you have transparent refund and return policies. Make those clear up front, whatever you choose to have those policies be. Okay. We generally recommend having a generous return, and refund policy. That's our recommendation, but of course, it's up to you under what circumstances you will process a refund or return of books, that sort of thing. And BookFunnel does give you the ability to see if a book has been downloaded after that reader has received their links. So if you're in that situation, you will be able to tell, have they actually gotten their books, or did they just change their mind after they completed their purchase and they haven't downloaded anything? You'll be able to see that information there. Now, a note here on 3D cover mockups. This goes back to my first point. When we see these a lot in ads, for example, and you have a 3D cover mock-up that might show the book as if it were a paperback or a boxed set. I even use these myself, right? But when you have that combined with direct sales, this is where that communication piece is very important. Maybe you're running an ad and you're using that as an image, and then that's going to your direct sales site where they're buying ebooks. You need to make it very, very clear that, hey, these are ebooks, right? It's a little different if you're using an image like that, like a boxed set image, and you're sending them to somewhere like the Kindle store. People are much more familiar with how the Kindle store works and so forth, and they're going to know what to expect. Although you'd probably be surprised how many times people show up on Amazon expecting to buy paperback books and buy ebooks instead, and then have to contact Amazon customer service and get a refund. And all of that happens behind the scenes and you never even know, right? So you're going to be seeing all that now. It's all going to be coming through you, right? Because if a customer buys your books and doesn't get what they expect, you're the one who they're going to email about it. And so if you're using 3D cover mockups, just be cautious, right? It can cause some confusion, especially if this is associated with a digital product. You need to make it very clear what it is they're adding to their cart and what it is they're buying, because you really don't want to have a lot of just have to process a lot of refunds and returns because someone didn't understand what they were buying from you, right? Some tools that BookFunnel gives you. First of all, you can ensure instant delivery with your checkout delivery page link. We'll talk about that link a little bit here in just a moment. This is a link that you can redirect to immediately after their purchase. Right, this makes it so that there's no missing emails. BookFunnel does send an email, a delivery email after their purchase, but sometimes it might wind up in junk or spam, or who knows, maybe it goes to an email they weren't expecting. You can provide this link to them instead. It ensures immediate delivery. You can process refunds or returns really right from your dashboard. This removes access to the refunded books and voids all links associated with the transaction. You still do have to process the refund itself of the funds on your sales platform. And actually, this verbiage has just recently changed on the dashboard. Now, excuse me, it used to be that on your BookFunnel dashboard, you would see the option under a transaction to refund a transaction. That was a little confusing. We now use the phrase process return, and that's essentially that should make more sense. Essentially, you can process the return of the books, the ebooks or audiobooks on your BookFunnel dashboard. That removes their access and voids those links, and then the refund itself, where the funds are returned to the customer, that can be done on your sales platform instead, right? Now, you can also perform easy exchanges. BookFunnel gives you the option to perform manual deliveries as well. So maybe somebody buys one of your boxed sets that they bought before. They meant to buy the new one, but they bought the old one by mistake. And so they contact you, they're like, hey, I bought the wrong one. Can you exchange it? It's as easy as returning the original purchase and then adding a manual delivery for the books that they meant to get. You can also change the recipient's email associated with their transaction. This can sometimes happen if there's a typo when they enter their email, or if there's a mismatched email. If they pay with PayPal or Apple Pay, for example, they might have an email that's associated with PayPal that is not the email that they checked out with, or not the email that they intended or expected to receive the books sent to. And so that is, in fact, the email that BookFunnel will use is the one associated with their PayPal account. That's the email we receive. And so that's the email that we deliver to. But in the event that they meant to use a different email or there was a typo, you can change that right from your dashboard and update that. This is also great if you have customers who want to buy gift copies for someone, right? They want to buy an ebook copy, but for someone else. They have to use their own email at checkout, but you can come in and then later on change that email for them since it's intended to be a gift purchase, and change that email and update it to the intended recipient. Your checkout delivery page. So we've been talking about this a little bit. Like I said, this is a link that you can provide to all your customers. It's going to pull all of their recent transactions, right, and download links from what they purchased from you specifically, right? Each author on BookFunnel has their own, right? So if there's a reader who's purchased from multiple different authors, they're only going to see their purchases from you on that page, that delivery page. And you can use this in a few ways. You're going to want to use it on your thank you or success page after the transaction is completed. This can be added to your receipt email that is sent from your sales platform. You can include it in there. Any automated follow-up emails that you send through your mailing list service, you can include it in there as well. And also redirecting from checkout. Now, if you redirect from checkout, you'll notice there's an asterisk here. It's very important. Don't use the checkout delivery page in cases where a product isn't delivered by BookFunnel. So if you're redirecting from your checkout and you're selling physical products, you may not want to redirect to this checkout delivery page. Right? This is only for the digital products that BookFunnel is delivering. If you're delivering a paperback and then you send them to this checkout delivery page, nothing's going to come up and they're going to be confused and it's not a good experience. So just keep that in mind. If you're redirecting from checkout, only do that if you're only delivering those digital products in those cases. Now, a few things here that I like to talk about. All right, this is my favorite segment of the webinar here. When it comes to direct sales, there's some out of the box thinking that folks have, and I'd like to talk about some of those here as well. So you can sell multi-book bundles and boxed sets. I've maybe mentioned this a little bit already with box sets and so forth, but you can do this with any number of books. A delivery action on BookFunnel can deliver a multitude of books. It can deliver as many as you want. You can have somebody buy your entire backlist of books, right, for whatever price you set. For example, you could do something crazy like that. Typically on other sales platforms, things like this aren't really possible. Amazon and other platforms pretty much make sure that if you're selling anything that's over $9.99, you're going to get much right there. You're going to get a very small cut of it, relatively speaking. And so they have it set up in such a way where they're going to get this big cut. They want you to keep your prices within a certain window, and that deters you from selling huge bundles of books that you could otherwise sell on another platform. Well, you're selling direct and you can determine the price. So if you've written 100 books, you could sell 100 books in one bundle if you wanted to. We have authors who do that. Some authors even bundling audio and ebooks together, which is another thing I'll mention here in a little bit. Pre-orders. This is another thing that you can do with BookFunnel delivery actions. You have the option to choose your delivery date and have that set into the future if you want to do a pre-order. This means that you can collect those funds in advance and then have those pre-orders delivered later on down the line. It makes it for a really simple way to do pre-orders alongside everything else you're doing on your direct sales store. Right? And subscriptions. Subscriptions with whether it's Patreon that some folks will do, or just even a subscription service directly on your website, right? Cut out Patreon and all that other stuff. Have them pay a monthly fee to you to be subscribed to your subscription service where you deliver them maybe a monthly book or something like that. And you can deliver with BookFunnel still. You won't use direct sales delivery, the same setup. It's actually not required. You could use bulk delivery. That's our tool specifically intended for that, but it's actually even easier, right? If you deliver your rewards to your subscribers who are paying you monthly for maybe a new book or something, if you deliver those on the first of the month, you can just have a bulk delivery delivered to them at the beginning of the month and they get all their rewards and it's easy peasy, right? Now, a box set, a book bundle, your entire series as one item in your store, right? You can do this with BookFunnel direct sales delivery. BookFunnel will deliver links to each book. All you have to do is select each individual book under the delivery action. So remember, delivery actions on your BookFunnel dashboard are a single product. And that product, it has a single SKU or item link or item ID, depending on how your store categorizes it. And you can tell BookFunnel, when I sell this SKU, I want you to deliver all of these books, right? Right? Whatever those books happen to be, and as many as you want. The sky is the limit. It's important to also note here, if you are delivering bundles, books are going to be ordered by their series title and volume number. This is going to be taken from your book's details. So if maybe when you set up your books, you didn't add your series name or the volume number to those books, you might want to go back and do that. And that way, those books, they're not going to be ordered alphabetically. They'll be ordered by book one, book two, book three in this series, right? So for example, right? Otherwise, if you don't have the series title and volume number in your book details, they will be ordered alphabetically. And that might not be the series order, right? So you may want to double check on that. All right, pre-orders we talked about here. When you're creating a product, you have the option to set that delivery date to a future date. BookFunnel will automatically deliver your book on that designated date. You do also have the opportunity to change that if you need to. Maybe if you need to delay your pre-order a little bit, you can. We give you some flexibility on that, as well as delivering pre-orders early. There are plenty of authors who find themselves in that situation too. And so if you're in that spot, you can do the same thing, right? And then our bulk delivery tool, I talked about this. This allows you to add books directly to the BookFunnel libraries of a list of readers, and this is great for subscription services and that sort of thing. Bulk delivery can be used on any platform. So Patreon is one example. Kickstarter is another one. I know a lot of authors are doing crowdfunding and that sort of thing. You'll have those emails for those readers. You're able to get those as part of their subscription or as part of them backing you on Kickstarter or whatever it might be. And so you have access to their email, but you probably communicate with them through that platform directly. Right? So that's where you would communicate, hey, I'm going to deliver these books. They're in your library. Go get them. And they'll be ready to go, right? So that's how you can do that without even needing to set up direct sales delivery. You can use the bulk delivery tool instead. Now, where is direct sales going in 2024? A few trends that we've noticed so far this year, and really some of these go back. The seed of them is back in 2023, 2022, but they're kind of maturing now, and more authors are exploring these. So there's a new meaning to going wide now. More and more authors are including direct sales as part of their wide strategy. So if you are a wide author, there really is no reason not to include having direct sales as part of your strategy, right? In fact, you should be. Understandably, if you are in a position where you're a KU author, right, in KDP Select, direct sales might be something that is, on the back burner for you, but it's still something that I think you shouldn't be sleeping on later on down the line. It might be a good fit for some of your other books in the future, or a place for you to put some of your backlist later on when you're writing new material. Right? Some authors are testing the waters with even exclusively direct books, things like crowdfunding and subscriptions and all that kind of stuff, as well as alternate ways to do direct sales. In fact, Kickstarter and other similar platforms have been very big. Right? That's also a new thing that we've seen in 2023, but definitely going into 2024. Right? Mega book bundles. We have had authors deliver, and I think Kelly and Emma can maybe even tell me what the latest record is. But I know we have had huge bundles delivered. I think we had one that was like 60 books, maybe, if I'm remembering correctly. And these people, readers are buying these and they're paying a fair and appropriate price for them. They're getting a deal, but they're definitely paying, the author is getting a deal too. And you can deliver all those en masse, right? And so that's one thing that direct sales allows you to do, is just to sell huge bundles of books. If you've got a huge backlist to work with, then this makes direct sales a very attractive way to sell your books, right? As opposed to, like I said, having to price your books within a certain range on other platforms in order to make enough from them to justify it. You can instead sell your entire catalog of books for one price. And running it makes running ads to something like that a lot more straightforward, more profitable in the long run. And so that's why you'd want to do something like that. Right? You're selling your books for less, but making more money, really. Audiobooks as well are on the rise. A lot more authors are going into audio. We've actually had we've done a webinar on audiobooks specifically, not just in relation to direct sales, but in relation to some of the new changes. Obviously, there's things like AI narrated audiobooks, and then even authors who are doing self-narrated audiobooks. So this doesn't have to be a traditionally narrated audiobook. Authors are exploring all their options. But generally, audio is perceived as a premium product, regardless of how it's narrated, right? It's going to be seen as a premium product, and so it demands a premium price. And when you're charging a premium price, why shouldn't you take the biggest cut as the author, right? In those cases, you should be the one making the most of each sale. And so I think with ebooks, maybe it's very, easy for somebody to be, oh, I'll just put them on whatever sales platform and it'll be fine. But when it comes to audiobooks, there's so much investment in them that you want to make back that investment, and direct sales is a great way to do it, right? And readers or authors are also learning the ropes here as we're going into 2024. Direct sales is becoming more and more of kind of a mainstream thing. It used to be that just self-publishing itself, if you told somebody you were self-publishing, they would laugh at you. Some people still will. I won't though, right? But some people will still laugh at you. But a lot of people have learned over the last, couple decades here, self-publishing is a real thing, and there are people who are, they can actually make a go of it. It's not something that immediately gets you, turns you into a laughing stock. Well, direct sales used to be that thing, right? After we kind of got over the idea of self-publishing and that became the norm, well, direct sales, oh, you're selling directly through your website. Oh, that's silly. Why would you do that? Well, it's not that way anymore. People are starting to wake up to this idea, and really authors are being empowered by this to sell directly to their readers. But readers are getting used to it as well. They're getting accustomed to this buying experience. And as we go along here, readers are going to become more and more comfortable with the idea of, oh, this author that I really like sells their books directly from their website. And this author does the same thing. And this author, their books are on Amazon, and that's cool. But they're used to buying directly from authors on their own websites, which means it's going to become a bigger share of the market over time, which means it's going to become really easier to do direct sales in some ways as those readers get more accustomed to it and used to it. Right? Authors are learning and improving too, though. Right? So there is a bit of an arms race. Authors who are doing direct sales now are going to be, figuring some things out. There's customer service that's involved. You are essentially taking on the role of Amazon when you do direct sales. So doing that well is important. And that's something that some authors are learning at this stage of things. And there's always going to be some growing pains with new things like this. So we have lots of authors who do direct sales through BookFunnel, and we get the chance to kind of see a little behind the scenes of how they deal with these issues. And the fact of the matter is, folks, if you stick with it, right, and you learn from previous mistakes, you will be on the cutting edge. You have nothing to worry about, right? So I don't want to scare you off, but yes, there is learning happening on both sides. Readers are getting more used to it. Authors are advancing. It's kind of maybe the golden age of direct sales, though, right? Everybody likes to talk about the golden age of self-publishing. I think we're going into a new era. I don't know. I'm not a prophet or anything like that, but that's just my thoughts. If I had to sell you on it, that's what I would say. So I'm sure we have plenty of questions. Emma and Kelly, of course, have been there in the chat. I hope you've been in the chat. But what do they want to know about direct sales today, ladies? What can we help them with?
Okay. Can you hear me? Am I good? Okay. Um, Karen is asking, if there is a delay in distributing from BookFunnel to my customer, who is notified and how? Me, the customer, or both? By email? Question mark. I'm thinking of power outages in the winter.
Oh, well, generally, uh, so not 99.99% of all deliveries from BookFunnel are pretty much immediate. The type of outages that actually would affect this would be service outages, typically with your sales platform or with your customer's email service provider or something like that. BookFunnel itself, I cannot remember the last time where we went down. Our servers that run everything, right, are secure. It's not in someone's garage or basement, right? It's in a secure managed location. So it would have to be an apocalyptic level event that would disrupt that, much like other sales platforms and that sort of thing. So, an outage, like a power outage of some sort like that, isn't going to affect, BookFunnel directly per se. There's some redundancies in that respect, and most of your sales platforms will have those same things, in place. Where something like that might have an impact would be potentially on your customers if they did have experience a power outage of some sort. Unfortunately, that's kind of outside of our control, but that would really just be impacting their access to it. So otherwise, delivery should be immediate. There are some things that have come up in the past where delivery winds up being delayed, but it's not due to any sort of power outage or anything of that sort. It's usually due to how the transaction is processed and then given to BookFunnel. Those transactions get delayed because BookFunnel isn't receiving the transaction right away from the sales platform. And it's usually because of how the sales platform is handling the transaction, and that can usually be solved. Sometimes it requires some digging and looking into. I know we've had this come up with WooCommerce in the past, and it's something that our engineering team had to look into. So usually if there's a delay of any kind, it has to do with how the transaction is handled rather than some a power outage or something to that effect, which again might affect the end customer. But it's important to note that BookFunnel isn't able to notify you of an issue with a transaction if we haven't received the transaction. So in that case, the first person you're probably going to hear from if the transaction was not successful is going to be the customer, right? In most cases, as the customer who you're probably going to hear from first. BookFunnel does keep a record of your transactions on your dashboard. This allows you to see the transactions and any errors that might have occurred, and then you can go in and address those errors. So you should be checking on your dashboard for any of those sorts of things on a regular basis, but oftentimes it's going to be the customer who's going to contact you in that regard first, right? So it is since it is your store, it is, you're the first line of defense, but we're here to support you on that. So hopefully that helps answer your question. If maybe I'm misinterpreting it, let me know. But yeah, we have some robust systems in place to ensure that delivery is pretty much immediate. And if there's any sort of delay, it's probably because we haven't received a transaction yet, in which case, not much we can do. So, if Shopify hasn't sent it to us, for example, that's something that has happened in one instance with one author that I can recall. These things do happen, but usually it's something that once you bring it to our attention, we can help you figure it out and see why it happened and then get it fixed.
All right. If a customer buys a product through my WordPress site, which has WooCommerce, can I include bonus content in the delivery? Example, an ebook with a bonus character art JPEG.
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple ways that you could do this. So BookFunnel can deliver books in different formats, right? So EPUB, Kindle EPUB, and PDF. We can't deliver a JPEG file, but you could deliver it as a PDF, right? Some artwork or any bonus content. All you would have to do is create that bonus content on your BookFunnel dashboard. So add it as a book on your BookFunnel dashboard, a new book. And then when you create that delivery action, you would add that book as one of the items to be delivered. So maybe you're selling your new release, and there's an option for them to buy just the book or the book with the bonus content. Let's use that as an example. You would create two delivery actions, one that has just the new release, just that book, and then the one with the bonus content. You could add any books from your BookFunnel dashboard to be delivered. And so that could include, like you described there, some additional bonus content or however you choose to deliver it. But yes, in the delivery action settings, you have the option to select multiple products to deliver, whatever they happen to be. So yeah, great idea.
Okay. And the next question, I think, is when we were talking about a specific store, you were talking about subscriptions. If they subscribe, does that mean I add a product line item called subscription? Confused on how that works.
Right, right. So when we're talking about subscriptions, so subscriptions cannot trigger a delivery from BookFunnel through direct sales delivery. So this is why we talked about the bulk delivery tool specifically. That tool is what you would want to use for that. So if you sell a subscription through PayPal or Shopify or what have you, or you're doing a subscription through Patreon or something like that, you would not set up a direct sales. You wouldn't have to set up direct sales for that at all. You would instead use bulk delivery, or you could use a link to a download page of some kind. That's something that you could use as well. That's that sort of thing is what you would use. There was those subscription transactions. They will show up on the BookFunnel dashboard under your sales transactions if you have BookFunnel connected to your sales platform. So if you have it connected to PayPal, let's say, and you have subscriptions running through PayPal, those transactions will show up there, but they're a transaction type that BookFunnel cannot deliver, at least not at this time. And so you will want to kind of skip the delivery action setup for a subscription and use bulk delivery instead, or you could use something like a restricted page. If you're able to connect your sales platform to your mailing list service, which in many cases you're able to do very easily, right? So imagine you're using MailerLite, for example, or MailChimp, right? You can typically connect those platforms to your mailing list service. Somebody they sign up for your subscription, and your sales platform instructs MailerLite or MailChimp, what have you, to add that email to a specific list. And that triggers an automation that in your mailing list service that delivers them a link to a restricted BookFunnel download page, which is connected to that list. So that's a way you could do it. It doesn't involve direct sales. It doesn't involve setting up a delivery action. Rather, those subscriptions would have to be delivered in some other way. So bulk delivery is what we typically recommend because you can do it all at once, right? If you deliver your rewards to your subscribers, or again, if it's Kickstarter, whatever it happens to be, right, you can deliver them all at once that way, which makes it really, really, really simple in that regard. So actually, it's easier in most cases than setting up direct sales and going through that process. If that's primarily what you're doing, you wouldn't have to do that. You wouldn't have to set up direct sales in that same way. In fact, if all you're doing is a subscription and you're not doing a store, right, where they can buy individual books, you wouldn't even necessarily have to have your sales platform connected to BookFunnel at all, and then that'd be fine too. So that's something to consider. But
All right.
Any other questions?
Was that it?
Yep.
Oh,
That
really?
seems to be, yeah. Yep.
I hadn't looked in the chat, so I saw like 36 messages. I'm like, oh, okay, there's going to be lots of questions, right? But no. I do.
There
I
were.
might. There's one here. This looks like it was answered, perhaps. For pre-orders, is there a way to upload a pre-order list, such as from Kickstarter? I think Todd asked that question while I was in the middle of it here. Yes, so with bulk delivery, you could get that list of emails and you just copy and paste them into the bulk delivery and then select the books you're delivering to them and you click a button and they are in those readers' BookFunnel libraries. And so yes, it's pretty straightforward. If you're doing pre-orders in that way, that's actually a great way to do it too. If you are delivering pre-orders on in some other way, you could also do it that way too. So yeah. Karen did ask, how long on average does it take to upload one product? Is 5 steps, 20, 35? So it depends on the platform you're using. Again, if you're uploading a product, the question I would ask is, are you talking about on BookFunnel? Or are you talking about on your sales platform? On BookFunnel, uploading a book is pretty straightforward, especially if you have some of those details already worked out, like the book's description and stuff like that, right? You don't need those things necessarily, but you might want to have them. As long as you have the book files, though, it's pretty straightforward on BookFunnel. You create a new book, you give it the title, add the author details and all that stuff to it, and then you upload the files, change any of the delivery settings that you want, and you're good to go. So that, yeah, 5 minutes, easy. On your sales platforms, adding products will depend a little bit. I know Emma's answer there, I'd say, is pretty accurate. PayHip is pretty quick. It's about 5 minutes. Shopify, there's maybe a few extra steps. Shopify is a little more robust in terms of the tools that are there, though. So that's something to keep in mind, right? But the complete setup, I would recommend doing it in batches. So I'd recommend adding all your products to your store first. Do all of that work there and do all that first. If you have a lot of books to add, right, get that done there. And then go to BookFunnel. And if those books aren't already on BookFunnel, I suppose you could do that part too. But then you're creating your delivery actions. Your delivery actions in BookFunnel are a breeze if you've already set those products up in your store, right? So if you already have those products set up in PayHip or you already have them set up in Shopify, it's going to be so much easier at that point to set up your delivery actions in BookFunnel after that. So make sure you've done that first, because you're going to need a SKU or an item ID, and that is going to come from your sales platform. That's where you're going to get that. So you're going to want to definitely do that work on your sales platform first.
Thank you for watching. Check out these other videos from BookFunnel, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.